So just notice the operations of the five skandhas, this whole field of changing phenomena is made of sensations, perceptions, these preferences of the mind. And there's this witness, this part of the mind that has this capacity to observe the other facets of mind. Mind can observe itself. So there's the witness, and there's what is witnessed. So just notice this duality, subject and object. And just notice this part of the mind that chooses to do something. It chooses where to put attention. It chooses whether to use a technique or no technique. Whether you choose technique or choose choiceless awareness, it's all choosing. This is the paradox, choosing choicelessness. So all the choosing, non-choosing, it's all happening in that mind. But awareness just is. It's just present. So all that paradox, all that choosing and non-choosing, just let it be exactly as it is, that whole mess on the level of mind. Just notice that awareness has always been here. It's always been free. This whole game of liberation and bondage, it's all happening in the mind. But awareness has always been free. You have always been free. It's just been a case of mistaken identity. Believing you are the mind, the character, believing the thoughts. Notice if the mind is looking for anything other than what is here in this moment. If there is any hope for the future, for something to happen, or any fear that something might happen, just notice whatever programs are running in the mind. Just let it be exactly as it is. But looking directly at the mind, know who you are, who is aware in this moment, who is aware of the mind. Who are you beyond mind and body? So we'll take a short break, washroom break, and then we'll come back here for group process in about 8 minutes. Thank you. Okay, hi everyone. So yeah, we have a group process now, an opportunity to ask any questions. I'd like to, because there's so many people in the group, I'd love to just kind of try to keep it more focused on practice. Things that are really relevant to the practice, and just be mindful that there are other people waiting to ask questions about their own practice. So if we can, just maybe limit it to, specifically things about practice today, that would be great. Get all the practice questions out of the way. I see there's one in the chat here. I'm going to address this first. It's a really good question. So it's from Sam Matthews. How does one know the difference between the witness state, the fifth skandha, and true awareness or consciousness? Or rather, if one is in the state of witnessing from the fifth skandha, how do you move beyond it? Yeah, so this is a really good question. So this is one that comes up all the time. So often in our practice, we come to a place where, we're hanging out as the witness. It's like we're seeing the operation of the mind. We're not getting caught in the thoughts, so hanging out as the witness. Sometimes there's a sense of peace in that witness. There can be an energy, a peace, and it's not a bad place to be hanging out. But then sometimes, the thought will arise, or like in the dyads, sometimes we receive the imperative, and it's like the mind becomes active again. It's like looking for something to say, or a thought comes, and there's this feeling that I'm flipping out of the witness. It's like this ping pong. So it's like I'm in the mind. The mind is thinking, and then I let go of that. I'm back in the witness. And so there's this duality. So the question is, how do we move beyond that? So it's just a recognizing of awareness that is already beyond that. Awareness is what, the fact that there's a witness and something witnessed, there's an awareness that is already beyond that. So the intention with the dyads, or in meditation, or any time, the attention is to directly experience that awareness, to directly experience that awareness that is aware of both. So it's not about being caught in the mind, and or it's not this or that. It's about this and that. So when we're in that witnessing space, we sometimes have this idea that if thoughts arise in the mind, then that's an interrupt in the stillness, an interrupt. But non-duality is not about this or that. Non-duality is this and that. So is there a way, as that witness, to allow the mind to be exactly as it is, but yet knowing who is aware, who is present, who is present in this moment, looking directly at that mind. And this is really a turning point in meditation, where we want to get to a point where we can look directly at the mind forming thoughts, so the thoughts aren't snagging us anymore. We can allow everything to be exactly as it is. It's not about pushing away the thoughts. It's not about trying to change anything. It's just about a recognition of who is aware in this moment. Yeah. So hopefully that will land, and just by doing this practice, just by doing the dyads, just by intending to directly experience, we there's an awakening to that which is beyond the conditioned self and the witness and all of that. Yeah. So yes, it is. Yeah, I am recording. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I'll go to Sam first. Is this the same Sam that had that question in the chat, or is this a different Sam? Sam Cheyenne. And I'll ask to unmute there. Oh, it looks like, let me just check my settings here. Are you able to unmute there, Sam? Okay, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but if you, maybe Sam is away. So I'll go to Sissy.
Yes, hi.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi, thank you for this. I'm not new to meditation, but this is a new form retreat for me. And I am dozing off all the time. And in this, I get like I am dreaming. I see pictures of total strangers for me going about their day. I don't know where it comes from. But I don't have the time to ask who is tired, because I doze off immediately.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any suggestions?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so in that case, yeah, sometimes, asking who's tired, or being aware of awareness, and not being tired. Sometimes the tiredness, or this applies to every samskara as well. Sometimes it can just be so powerful it kind of overtakes things, and that's when it can be helpful to use the techniques to really start to go into the habit pattern, and to really bring it to the forefront of consciousness. So I would ask, when tiredness arises, is there, like, before you're completely snagged by it and gone, as the tiredness is coming on, are there bodily sensations that are observable to you?
Yeah, maybe for a short period.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
So
did the body yesterday, but I just, when you stopped talking, I just came to the chest, and then I was
mm-hmm.
gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so maybe, when the tiredness is really that strong, as it's building, as the moment the body's really getting tired, really penetrate into the sensations that are arising, because there's usually the signs of it coming on there, a heaviness in the eyes. There's always a change in the breath as well. When this mind body pattern comes up. So maybe just tune into the subtleties of what that pattern looks like in the body. Sometimes the posture will change, and it might be very subtle. So if you can keep track and make that pattern conscious, and just maybe choose, two or three aspects, like maybe there's a heaviness in the eyes, a change in the breath, change in the posture, whatever is observable, keep track of those characteristics as they're changing through time, and in that way we can start to penetrate the pattern. It's like we're using a part of the mind, a different part of the mind, and penetrating into that pattern, and we can shift it in that way.
Okay, so like asking why I'm getting tired. Do you mean like that?
No, just purely observing the sensations, like how, like,
Yes.
do you feel the tiredness in this moment right now? Is there a
Uh,
tiredness?
I have just slept, so
Okay.
during the meditation. So,
Okay.
but not as when I'm meditating. No.
Okay. So what, when you're tired, just investigate, like, how does that feel? How do you know that you're tired? There's a feeling in the body, feelings, sensations. So, that's what we want to tune into on a subtle level, really keeping track of the feeling of tiredness, and how that changes through time. So are those sensations and feelings, are they moving in the body? Are they changing in intensity through time? If there's like a heaviness in the head and the eyes, is that changing through time? And we can penetrate into the pattern, just by observing the sensory phenomena as it changes.
Okay.
Hmm.
Yes. Thank you.
Hmm. Hmm. Thank you. Yeah, I'll go to Scott.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yeah, first of all, I think these teachings have been incredibly helpful this morning. Kind of opened up a lot of perceptual ideas. So my question is about paradox, and I think from an early point investigating a lot of different kind of religious systems and ideas that I found paradoxes to be primarily irritating. And I think now I'm getting into a place where I almost feel like the paradox is there to, in a sense, almost break a schema
Hmm.
and my mental ability to interface with that thing and almost back me into a corner where I have to look beyond that and kind of almost feel my way into a different understanding.
Hmm.
So
Yeah.
that's one of the questions. And then the second one is feeling your way into a different understanding, a tool and a trap at the same time.
Hmm. Yeah. So I'll talk a little bit about the paradox. So yeah, like in Zen, they use koans, for the same purpose. There are many different koans. The one we're using in the dyads, tell me who you are. It is a koan. It's the classic Zen koan, and it's meant to bring the mind to its limit. Like they're, or what, show me your original face before you were born, or what is the sound of one hand clapping. These are all things when we really go into it, it brings the mind to a don't know mind. And the don't know mind is the gateway into the deeper mysteries of our being. Yeah.
President, as in front of the reference desk, your study room is ready. Preston.
Oh, I think somebody's. Let me just mute. I'm going to mute people here. Okay, sorry, Scott. Yeah. So does that make sense to you? Is that sort of? Yeah.
That's kind of sense that I have too. And I think also like, for me it is a matter of like feeling my way beyond these conceptual models. And so that is the question as well. It's like, that is a tool and an advancement, even like the teachings this morning really kind of realigned myself to some conceptual models, which is great. That's the first step, right?
Hmm.
In like relationship and having a place to move towards. So, but in that moving towards beyond the mind, like through this kind of sense perception or feeling your way into something through your heart, even, would you say that that is like a typical way to approach those things, if
Hmm.
that makes sense?
Yeah. So the feeling your way, like working with the skandhas, for example, like I would refer to maybe a vipassana technique, or any of these techniques actually there are more about sort of feeling your way. So so you're coming out, you're observing the habit pattern of the mind, and maybe coming into the energy layer, or the Vedana skandha, where we're coming into just the vibration, or the inner aliveness, which that to me is, we're breaking the habit pattern of the mind by sort of feeling our way into that, and we're rewiring the avatar as well to be sort of more permeable and more open. So I think that's an important step. And then there's there's that recognition when we inquire directly into who we are. There's no feeling our way with that. Because the one trying to feel its way is still the mind. All of those skandhas are within the mind, within the conditioned self. So there's a direct recognition, a direct flip, that it's just a waking up to the awareness that is ever present. So there's no feeling our way to that awakening, but yet the feeling our way, moving through the conditioning, into a more subtle layer of our being, is an important part of the process, just to loosen the bonds within the self structure. Yeah.
That's incredibly helpful. One last comment. I just want to say that this retreat is equally as beautiful as your films, I think. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. I'll go to Catherine. Hi, Catherine.
Hi, Daniel. Thank you. Okay, so what seems to happen sometimes for me is I'll be noticing that there are all these thoughts, and I am caught in these fictions, and that I am believing them in the moment of the time. And then sometimes I start feeling a sense of panic around the realization everything that's handed to me in regard to all of this is made up in here. That's what we're talking about. But I think the sense of panic, and the sense that then what's there? There's no ground whatsoever. And then there's fear around that. And then a sense of, so then everything just wants to shut down and go straight back to a safe ground. Is that enough for you to work with?
Yeah. Thank you. So the fear that comes up. This is a common thing. I like when people describe the fear. It means that they're working correctly with the practices and the techniques, because that fear is, within the conditioned self. It's fear of the unknown, fear of letting go of control. So it's good. We have to move through that fear. That it's a natural part of this process. So as with all of the phenomena that's arising, there's two ways that we can sort of approach this. So the one way is to observe. When that fear comes up, like, do you know what that fear feels like in the body? Like, do you know where it lives in the body? Is there clear sensations that come with that?
Yeah, it's in the heart center. I think if we were to find a locus, that would be it.
Yeah, okay, that's
Like
great.
in the physical heart.
Yeah, so you can, part of it is, we want to make it conscious, and so there's always, there's often, a mind component. It might be very subtle. If we may catch it, we may not. What that fear is actually a fear of. Sometimes it's just like a sort of abstract fear that comes. Sometimes the fear can be extremely potent as well. It can be like almost like a childlike fear, like when children get night terrors, and there's no real object to the fear. It's just fear. But if we can feel that in the body, and really get a sense of the pattern of it, and just make it conscious when it comes. Have a complete experience. We don't try to get rid of it. We don't try to push it away, but just allow it to be exactly as it is, because it is the letting go of the conditioned self, the letting go of what is known. So really, there's nothing to do other than be completely conscious of it on every level that it arises, and just allow it. So that's the sort of turning towards or allowing it to be as it is approach. And simultaneously we can inquire, who does that fear belong to? Who am I in this moment? Who's aware of that conditioned self, going through this letting go, going through this fear? So we can inquire simultaneously, and both of those things, are helpful. And sometimes, when the fear comes up, sometimes there just will be a contraction. If the charge is really strong, there will be a contraction, maybe an identification with it, and it'll kind of slow things, stop, and return to a more comfortable place, and that's okay. We can take runs at it. Every time it comes, it's an opportunity to kind of allow it to be as it is, feel it completely, and surrender. But if the charge of that fear is too much in that moment, that it is what it is, and we can be equanimous with that as well.
And I just want to make sure, I think you answered it, but in the dyads, I got a little confused around, okay, who's this, what's the answering, the samskara or the being? But it seems like you answered it when you said it's an and, it's not an either or.
Mm-hmm.
So if we don't look at it in a dualistic way, then we can work with it in the dyad. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, that's it. So that the mind's need to analyze it and pin it down in some way, is just another control mechanism of the mind. So the more we really truly enter into a don't know mind, and just allow it, don't worry about it, basically, don't worry about what, am I the real me, or am I the false I? All of this is the control mechanism of the false self. So, if you think about it as, how would a little kid answer? If a little kid, you look in their eyes and you say, tell me who you are, is a little kid going to go into this self-analysis? No, it's much more spontaneous and free. We don't need to figure those things out.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'll go to Doris. Hi, Doris.
Hi, Daniel. Yeah, thank you so much for this retreat. It's really excellent. My question is, I have spontaneous, involuntary movements and vocalizations. They're quite strong, and it's been going on for years. And it makes it's very, it just happens. So I just allow it. And I've heard that it's a sign of Kundalini trying to rise, it's Kriyas. And so I feel good about it, actually. But my question is like, if I want to go to a retreat at your center, I can't be around people who are quiet. You know, it would be really disturbing, I think, to them. So what do you think?
Yeah. This is something that happens for some people, and it's kind of mysterious. You know, sometimes I've had people at retreats who there will be vocalizations and twitching. You know, like energy moving in the body. Sometimes there'll be spontaneous movements or kriyas unfolding and different things. Yeah, it's a mysterious part of the path, and I've had years of my own energy sort of configuring itself. You know, even now, still, like sometimes I'll go to bed after a lot of meditation, and the body will be twitching and kind of reconfiguring itself. And my feeling is like I think I mentioned it to someone yesterday about how the Shiva and Shakti are in this sort of dance together. So sometimes if the energy is really strong, you know, and these movements are happening spontaneously, you know, we want to really engage in a practice that is not going to stir up more energy, but really more focusing on the self-inquiry. You know, the single-pointed conscious presence, you know, that is sort of the counterpart of that energy, that Shiva consciousness. So I would say, like, you know, usually when I see a lot of energy and movement happening, then, you know, the way to balance that out is to go into that inquiry. You know, so who is aware? You know, who is moving the body in that moment? And if we really go into that, you know, the consciousness and the energy really they're one, but there's this split that happens where it. So when we really inquire into, you know, who is moving, you know, that integration can happen. And quite often, if we're really engaged in that inquiry, that energy can really settle down and kind of integrate. So it's just you. It's just part of you, and it's not. You know, at the beginning, it feels like, you know, almost like the body is being moved by this alien intelligence. But once we integrate it, it just becomes more of you then. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you. It's hard to do inquiry because it just captures my attention so much, and it's just really quick and you know, really quick. But I'll try what you said. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and if there's any practices that you know, that are sort of grounding, you know, I would the things that tend to stir up or make that energy stronger. There might be things that you recognize there as well, which you could just sort of you know, taper off of those things and engage more in the inquiry. You know, so if there's, you know, doing chanting, maybe, you know, for some people that might be very activating for the energy. So rather than doing that, you know, just being. You know, just being and inquiring into who is aware, who is present, and that can help to, you know, really integrate that energy.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. Now go to Razi.
Hi, thank you so much. Hi, Dan. Questions regarding the practice. The first was, I'm having some difficulty with continuously maintaining the inquiry. So when I ask the question to who is this occurring to, or who is having this experience, it comes up me. And so when I look into me seems more like a thought. Mm-hmm. And then I ask the question, is that who I really am? And then I notice it's just a thought that disappears. Then I ask, well, who's the one experiencing everything? And that kind of takes the mind to a blank space. And there's just like a beingness that's there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what helps me get there, is just when I ask, well, who's experiencing everything, or who's hearing, listening? So I know that there's a stillness within
Mm-hmm.
that is sort of aware of everything. So that I'm able to maintain that for a few seconds only. Like I'm not able to even take it to 30 seconds or over a minute.
Mm-hmm.
And then different thoughts come in that I'm not able to catch as thoughts, and I'm getting out of the inquiry, and a lot of time spent not even realizing I'm out of that. Any suggestions about that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's very much you described it really well. So I think when I was talking about the witness earlier, just allowing the thoughts and the witness to coexist simultaneously. So I think you called it stillness, or there's this stillness, or something that is aware of everything. Yeah. So that we don't want to. Sometimes there's when we recognize that, it's like we want to hold it, we want to stay with it, and we sort of, we're separating the mind and the phenomena from that, but we want to find a way to allow everything to coexist simultaneously. So, is there a way that you can be here, aware of everything, but allowing everything to be exactly as it is?
Is there a way? Okay, so that's a question that I could ask myself, or what are the
Yeah,
suggestions?
yeah. Like in that moment, is there a pushing away or a separating
Yes,
happening?
there's a
Yeah.
preference. I see that there's
Hmm.
a preference to
Yeah.
stay there. So, oh, I see. Thank you. I didn't
Yeah.
catch that. There's a
Yeah.
preference wanting to stay in this beingness and push away the other stuff that I think is active. Oh,
Yeah, because the truth is that beingness is always present. When whether the mind is active or not active, that awareness is present. So we want to allow, the mind states to change and come and go, but recognize awareness, recognize who we are in that. Yeah.
thank you. One
Hmm.
more question, Dan, regarding the sitting. I've meditated for some time. It's interesting when my ability to sit without that pain sensation being so strong has been declining. Meaning, like, I just sit for 2 minutes and the sensation becomes so strong that usually it would be, if I'm sitting for 40 or 50 minutes, I'd have that sensation, which is sort of confusing to me. I'm like, I just sat here. Why is this happening?
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's sort of strange, but it is happening.
Hmm.
Um, so initially it was, I'll just power through that and sort of fighting it, and that didn't work quite well. Um, One was, it was very helpful to hear you say just be with what is arising. I was being with what was arising, and I was really staying with it. Then thoughts are coming and I'm getting distracted by because my attention was just trying to be still and not open my legs. So much of my energy just going into not opening my legs that I'm not catching the thoughts that are, one thought was, oh, I should go to the bathroom. I'm like, no, I'm sitting. And I got pulled by the thought, and like, oh, I have to go to the bathroom. I have to go to the bathroom. Like, I didn't really have to go to the bathroom, but it seemed so believable. I just got pulled into that.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, the being with what is arising is really it, and that, if we can take that into our whole day. So whether you get up and go to the washroom or not, you can be with that experience. And like in Zen, I love, Dogen would say, it's just everyday life. Like the awakening is everyday life. But when if you're eating, you just eat. Have a complete. You're completely experiencing the eating. If you're sitting, you just sit. You're having a complete experience of sitting. A direct experience of everything. If you're walking, you just walk. Just be. with the walking, like fully in it, a direct experience of it. And that's it. It's that simple. It's whatever is arising, we inhabit it fully.
Thank you. Thank you. That's because it was like, if I can't sit, that means I've lost, and I just stop even being and paying attention. Versus it's okay. So now the being is still there, but now the other activity is happening. Still stay with everything. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's the mind, the conditioned mind that chooses this or that. That it's like we can operate through that mind, or we can just allow life to kind of flow through, and things are happening. And the more we the better we get at dropping that conditioned mind that it has to have it a certain way, it has to have its preferences, then we can just let life unfold and just be with whatever's happening, and it's no problem. It's just a complete experience of whatever is arising.
Yeah. Thank you so much. That's so helpful. No problem. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you. I'll go to Joseph.
Hi, Dan.
Yeah, hello.
Ramana Maharshi, the practice was, who am I? Who are these thoughts? Who do they come from? And if you eventually are diligent with that practice, the self-structure will decrease and the real self will show up temporarily.
Mm-hmm.
If you stay on that path so intently, eventually the self-structure disappears and all you have is the real voice. That's my understanding. But when disciples would come to him and say, I want to commit all of my life to living in the cave like you to achieve what you've achieved, he said, no, don't do it. Stay with your families and continue your practice.
Mm-hmm.
And in the video you showed us today, you told us that when you were really diligent and focused on the practice, that's when you were able to bring out more of the real self. And then you go and you make movies and that lessens. So how do you reconcile those choices you've made? And how do we possibly understand the journey of our own practice when that seems counterintuitive?
Yeah, it's a good question. For me, as I go on my path, I think the more we do this work, there's less and less choosing. I think like at the beginning, I totally agree with when people sometimes they get really enthusiastic about awakening and the path, and they're like, I'll give anything, I'll give my life, but they actually, it's the conditioned self, and once we recognize actually what it is, what awakening is, quite often that conditioned self will be like, whoa, I don't know if I'm signing up for this, because it's actually, it has to give up. It has to fail, actually. Whatever we think the awakened life is, whatever we believe, whatever we've read, it's not that, because it's not a belief. It's not something that can be known by the mind. So if it's the mind at the beginning signing up for it, there's just going to be trouble, and we don't know what our authentic path is until it unfolds, and it's continuously a mystery. It's continuously unfolding, and in my own life. There's an energy that moves here and there, and it's the energy of life is like a river. It's like a lightning bolt, and it doesn't just go from A to B. There's an exploration there. There's a branching that's happening, and it's the little mind that it wants to know how it's supposed to go. The little mind always wants to go from A to B, or to, have a map of some sort. But the deeper I go on this path, the more I truly don't know, the only thing, it's like Socrates used to say, and I totally resonate with what he said. I only know that I don't know. But I trust life. I trust that unfolding and that journey of that energy. And yeah, I don't know if that really answers your question.
A little bit. I mean, it just seems like scientifically, when you're super dedicated to the practice, you achieve more of that self. And if you stuck with that diligent practice, eventually you would get to a state where all you is the real self. So I understand your answer, and I'm kind of playing devil's advocate, but like, why not commit 10 years or whatever to achieve that constant state and then go live your life in that state of achievement, and you be able to share on an exponential level. Again, I don't know if that's true, but I'm trying to understand the counterintuitive nature of that.
Yeah, and I think it's different for everyone. I think for some people, their path is to go into the cave, and detach from society. The flowering of that human consciousness or that human life is that path. For someone else, the flowering may be having a family, but doing it in a way that is totally conscious and with presence, or as an artist or whatever it could be. I think everyone's flowering is different, and it's important. There's a phrase in Zen, always being Buddha, always becoming Buddha. So there's the flowering, that happens through time, this development process through time. But, the paradox is that awareness needs no development. It's when we recognize, we can awaken at any moment. And when we recognize awareness, then everything is perfect as it is. It doesn't matter what's been developed or what states, or chakras have been activated or any of that. The inner lotus, all of that, it could be at any stage of development, and we can be completely free and at peace. So this is the paradox. We're already that which we seek. But yet the time-bound part is going through this growth development experience.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Go to Katrina. Hi, Katrina.
Oh, now I want to say thank you again for doing this retreat. So my question is, I have done meditations in the past, and this experience has been actually quite different. And I understand that what I'm experiencing is my mind. I'm trying to not let go of the ego. So I've been doing the meditations, and I've been more irritated. The irritation is coming up significantly where I can feel it within my chest, my body, and I understand it's fear that's holding on. So is it better to just keep pushing through the meditations and the lessons, or is that my body telling me I need a break? Because that irritation is to the point where everything, I can hear a little pin drop, for example, while I'm in a meditation state. And I've never experienced this before. Usually when I meditate, it's more of a calming relaxation. And then afterwards, I feel more at peace and more energized, but now it's more irritation.
Yeah, so it sounds like a big samskara coming up to the surface. If there's fear there, it sounds like you're touching something that maybe you haven't touched before. So when you get up from the cushion, your body is fine. You're not damaging anything, or this is more just localized to the meditation practice. Is that correct? Or? That's a question. Did you?
Oh, I'm sorry that my internet connection went unstable. Can you repeat that? I am so sorry.
Yeah, sure. So when this phenomena is coming up, the fear, there's nothing else going on in the body. Like when you get up from the meditation cushion, you're not like damaging the body or anything like that.
No, it's just like a irritation feeling, like an anxiety feeling, more so than anything.
Yeah. So it sounds like a big, a samskara coming up. So I would say just allow it to be as it is. Like really, unless we're going into like a true overwhelmed state. An overwhelmed state is, like it's like the body's sweating and it's like shaking, and there might be nausea, and if it can feel like you're actually frying the nervous system in the body, which that to me, we're pushing it too far if we go into there. But if it's something that is within, it doesn't feel like you're actually damaging the body, then yeah, I say, just be with it, just allow it. It's actually an amazing opportunity to allow this to arise and pass away. Just let it be exactly as it is. Just keep being present, doing the practice. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect. Thank you. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I would say, like just sharing a little bit about my own experience at the Zen Center. I had many times where, in meditation retreats, I would, it was quite overwhelming, and I had to kind of back off. And it was only when I found myself at the Zen Center, and they're so strict there, and you have to sit like a statue, and you can't move, and it took, it was truly conditions of no escape. And it was those conditions that really led to that flip happening. And for me, I came to a point where, it was really, for the Dan character, it was completely intolerable, this situation, and it was like something had to give deep within the, within the whole mind-body energy structure. Something had to give way. Either I had to get out of there and escape, or something had to give way inside. And so those conditions of no escape, which is what we're creating here, really are powerful for bringing about whatever this alchemy is that it, creates these conditions for awakening.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I'll go to Alyssa. Hi, Alyssa.
Yes, hi, Dan. Hi, everybody. Well, I got two questions, if I may.
Mm-hmm.
The first one has to do with my practice, because I think that it has been before, and before I started to do the self-inquiry, and then and after. So I just would like some guidance on that. And the second question has to do with my little bit having some curiosity about certain concepts that I will be very grateful if you can help me with that.
Mm-hmm.
So going to my practice, how it was before, I used to, when I used to enter in states of meditation, so I used to get into this sort of sense of stillness, of emptiness, peacefulness, I could say, and a sort of sense of containment, containment of feeling quite content with myself, within my heart. It was sort of like blissfulness, if I can call it in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that was before. When I started to do the self-inquiry and reading the books of Dhammapada, I actually sort of start to incorporate all these elements into my meditation. And when I started to incorporate all this, I started to do it with you as well in all day. I've been with you for quite long as a student. And I started to realize that perhaps it was my mind, my conditioned mind, that was creating this sort of perhaps artificial feeling of blissfulness and contentment and blah, blah, blah. Because the real thing perhaps was not there. And I wanted to go deeper.
Yeah.
So my first question is that now when I go into meditation, I haven't actually sort of experienced anymore this sense of blissfulness, or intimacy. I'm not feeling this anymore. This is gone completely. And now when I am witnessing my mind all the time, it has gone to something a little bit farther than that. And then I don't know if it's still my mind playing games. And I start to hear these voices in my mind, or when I'm into meditation, watching the mind. And when the mind comes up with lots of stuff or lots of thoughts or whatever, yeah. So is this voice telling me, or saying to my mind, I'm watching you, I am observing you. I know that is you, it is my mind. But now I have started to become, where this little voice is coming from. I don't know if I can explain myself. No, another little voice has appeared. Where this voice is coming from?
Yeah, this can often in our practice. So there, to me there are levels. There's many levels of mind, and the mind is notorious for dividing itself. So we can talk about higher mind and lower mind and all these different levels of mind that start to open up as we go into practice. Sometimes when energy becomes free, like you were mentioning, blissful feeling, so that blissful energy can actually connect us with other levels of mind. So there's a whole realm of possibility for mind, but there's an awareness. There's the one who is aware of all of that phenomena. So, ultimately there's truly only one of you. There's, as long as there's a sense of division, that is mind. The human experience is an experience of limitation or division. So, so when what we want to realize is the one that is ever present, the one that is aware, the knower of all of these different levels of mind, the knower of the blissful experience, and we want to directly experience that one.
Yeah, well, I have a little bit difficulty to experience that. I don't know if it is something that it is going to become easier. I mentioned yesterday and today you were talking about that really having these moments of perhaps awakening, and then when we are in meditation, but we go to our life, our day-to-day activities, and so we actually sort of come back. We keep coming in and out, and Joseph, I think one of the people guys who are taking this retreat, was mentioning very clear how we are going to reconcile the two things, which I think are starting to be quite difficult. And then I have concentrated my path in sort of progressing, being perhaps intellectually very, very, very aware of who I am. But I think that this experience, completely experience it, I think that I don't know if I'm going to get in this lifetime. Yeah, despite of the fact that I have had very clear experience of that in moments, and in moments at the beginning of my path when I was not really so much into meditation, I experienced this sense of oneness, completely oneness with the universe. I felt part of everything, but but I felt fear at
Mhm.
that point because I thought I'm getting mad.
Mhm.
It was something that I've never experienced, and I just went back. But
Yeah.
anyway, so this is, but I don't know if this is going to progress or how I'm going to progress this within my self-inquiry now meditation, because now I feel that I got more and more issues coming up. I don't
Mhm.
know how to explain it, but I got more
Mhm.
issues. You have
Mhm.
explained to me, that mine has got very different levels, and I don't know where I'm going.
Yeah, that's perfect. The more you don't know, the better. If you can allow the don't know mind, that is the beginner's mind, and just allow whatever's coming to come. Just whatever phenomena is coming up is perfect. It sounds like there's a part of the mind that wants to navigate, or how do I progress? It's the mind that's asking that question isn't what progresses. That the conditioned character, never awakens. That little self never awakens. It has to fail. It has to accept that it doesn't know. And those glimpses, sometimes we get those glimpses, and the mind, it's really incredible how the mind can appropriate anything on our path. So we'll get a glimpse of awakening, and then the mind will say, okay, now I know what awakening is. I just have to get back to that experience. But that, that creates a seeker, it creates a controller. And we really truly have to come to a don't know mind. In order to have that glimpse in the first place, the mind had to let go. So the experience, is just temporary. But the knower of that experience has been ever present. So all of those experiences, everything, every glimpse, we have to forget it. And because, if we don't forget it, then the mind will try and recreate it somehow. Yeah.
And I can imagine that it's different for everybody. But
Mhm.
anyway, so thank you
Yeah.
very much for that.
Yeah.
And if I may ask the next question, and I say it is my little me having sort of some curiosity about certain elements of this life, and is that we talk about our real nature, consciousness, our divinity. I imagine some concepts that our mind has created, within this sort of world in which we live, to make sense within this 3D in which we are, and there is the concept of soul, of a spirit, and I got a mix really of everything. So I mean, I don't know really much about, or I think that I know, but I'm not sure about all this sort of divinity and concept of spirit, and we are part of a whole universal consciousness, and we have this divinity within us. And would you please perhaps help me to clarify these sort of concepts?
So I think I'd like to leave that maybe for later.
Okay.
Maybe towards the end of the retreat, I'll talk a little bit about more of the cosmological stuff and soul and spirit and that kind of thing. But for right now, I think it's more productive to just to continue with the practice,
Okay.
to continue with direct experience, because whatever I say right now is just going to be conceptual. But I'd rather if you focus on the practice, you can have direct experience, and then
Okay.
then it won't be a question. Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Namaste.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hmm. I'll go to Michael Wade.
Hi, Dan.
Hello.
Hi, everybody. I would like to start, Dan, by telling you that I've been on I've been one with the hair on fire, seeking the pond, and I used to have hair.
It's all
I don't
burned
know
off.
it all burned up, and I'm still seeking for the pond. But just thank you so much for your material. It came at a time in my life where I needed exactly as you distinguished it so beautifully, and that which is so hard to distinguish, you've done a masterful job, and you do so with humility and grace, and I'm just honored to be able to speak to you directly. So I just want to thank you, man. Really,
Thank you.
I love you. I really
Thank
love
you.
you, man. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So what I'd like to do here is maybe it's about expectation setting. I've done a lot of deep work. Been encumbered with a fear of death since I was 7, and I've done lots of medicines, plant medicines, non-plant medicines, and had profound experiences of samadhi, fleeting. They come and they go. And I guess I had it in my mind that eventually I would remain in a samadhic state. And then I heard you say something today, which makes sense to me, but it's that somatic states come and then they go, and you're back in the body, and you're operating in a different way where you're not identified as form. The thing that, and then what struck me was this fear of death emerged, like the fear of decline, the eventual death, my death, the death of my dog and my mom and all that I love. And that fear in me is so deep that it gripped me when you shared today.
Mhm.
And it really gets me. It's like I got tears in my eyes, and I've done so much work with it. Even the last hero's dose of mushrooms, I dealt with the depths of that despair, and I thought that I had released it, and I feel it coming back.
Mhm.
Along with it is fear of annihilation, separateness. It's very prominent now. And so there is this expectation that one day I won't be encumbered with that. Yeah, so I mean, I could go on, but that's essentially where I'm at. I'm feeling hopeless. Like, what's the point? So that's feeling my character, and what the character's saying. What happens to me once the body dies? That's the flavor of it's in my body. That's the flavor of what's driven me on this journey.
Mhm.
And I feel like I'm almost back where I started
Mhm.
over the last couple of days.
Mhm.
So I wanted to share that with you, and to see if you have any comments or.
Yeah, it sounds like you're feeling, the complete pattern of the self structure. The ego pattern is really strong, and you said something that stood out to me. Like, I feel hopeless, and there's a beauty in that. So one of my meditation teachers, on his Zendo, he has a sign that says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," and and it's the ego construct. That's from Dante's Inferno. The gateway to hell, basically. Abandon all hope, ye who enter here, and the ego structure is hell. It is that. So it's perfect. And so the hope is the mind's projection of wanting something. The mind thinks it wants to attain something in the future. So the truth is that for the conditioned self, for that character, there is no hope of awakening. It has to be hopeless. It has to accept that it will arise and pass away. It will die. But the problem, the whole game that we're playing here with awakening and liberation is that we're not that character. We're not that hopeless character. There's an awareness that is ever present, that when when we go into deep sleep at night, that awareness can remain awake. It's eternal. It's ever present. So when our sense of I flips to that awareness, then there's no more fear of death. We know. That's why the highest samadhis are so important, because we know who we are. We know that we're not that character that lives and dies. So all I can say is, just keep going with this practice. Like, just keep going with the inquiry, intending to directly experience the awareness that is ever present, because there's a point where when we get it, it's like how did I become identified with that character? It's like it is a cosmic joke. So I would just say, let the character be hopeless. Let it give up entirely, and but find out directly who you are.
Beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
One quick follow-on on that. I had a flip last night when I was in the dyads. I was in the hopeless state, and then the next time I spoke, I was in somatic type state.
Mm-hmm.
No fear. The thoughts were virtually gone, and it was beautiful and blissful. I've been there many times. And is there a flip that happens and then you stay? I mean, and then the next morning I'm triggered and I'm hopeless again. So I'm just expectation set. Is there a big flip that happens at some point, or just?
Yeah. So this is the thing that is so tricky. So the states, so every awakening, every glimpse, there's a state that is impermanent. It's always impermanent. All states are impermanent. So there's phenomena, whatever phenomena is arising, sometimes there's a sense of peace, bliss, whatever it is, that phenomena that changes will always, the field of change will always be changing. So that we can never hold on to a state, but who we are, once we get it, once we recognize that awareness is ever present, then it doesn't matter. There's a peace that comes from that, and it's a different kind of peace. It's like an okayness with these changing states. It's just an allowing. It's a peace that comes from knowing the truth of who you are, and that is that's liberation. That's liberation from but it's liberation from the seeking of these states. It's the liberation from preferring one thing over another. It's the conditioned self, playing this game of wanting some permanent state. And, if we've done a lot of entheogens and psychedelics, there are these beautiful, blissful states, but it's an endless game. And, there's no state that we can hold on to. There's a deeper peace that's possible when we allow everything to be as it is, knowing the true self.
Yeah. Thank you. I'm going to give you that.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah. Okay. I'll go to Yel. Yel, am I saying that right?
Yeah.
Yael, yeah.
Yeah.
Hi.
Yes. First of all, I want to thank you for putting this online. I really appreciate the opportunity to deepen in practice like this, almost kind of traditional, but modern. And I've always been curious about this self-inquiry, but I've never really, it's been kind of like an unattainable myth. And what we're doing here with the diets, the first couple of days, well, not the first couple of days, the first day, it was kind of like, but it looks like, I just said it's something that you just sink into, and it kind of probably reveals itself, and it looks like it's starting to do that, even though it still feels unsure. So my question is, one of the first meditation periods we did this retreat, I had a familiar thing happen, which was fear come up, which now you've touched on this with a couple of people, and I was gonna put my hand down, but maybe you'll say something. And it came up, it starts usually beneath the solar plexus, somewhere around the belly area, you know. And so before with fear, it's like this big, you know, thing that you can't cross. But, you know, over time with practice, and so now it's more, it starts to rise up. You know, I've learned to just watch it, and I think of it in terms of giving a safe passage, like the trapped energy, without criticizing or judging or whatever. So now it starts to rise up. So my question is, it comes up, and it's not like, you know, it's kind of pleasurable actually, because there's a kind of a burning feeling about it also. And as it rises up, it seems to stop around the throat area. You know, at first it did go far. Now it seems like it goes past the heart area and it stops around the throat area. And so, you know, I'm kind of enamored with the whole thing of transmutation, right? But it's kind of a thing, you know, in my mind also. And I recognize that. And I'd like it, like everything else, to be sort of, you know how you bring practice into everyday life and whatever. So I wonder if with your experience, you can say something about that.
So, so I'm sensing there's like an expectation there for it to transmute and to maybe rise higher or something like that. Is that right?
Exactly. And also, I just remembered during the meditation period, as that was happening, I heard you saying, you know, you were giving some guiding points, and I heard you say, the energy likes to move around. And for some reason, I related it to what was occurring with me at the moment. And I thought, you know, maybe I'm too attached to this whole thing of letting it pass off and evaporate or something, you know.
Yeah, I've found that you know, people who've been really read a lot about Kundalini and the chakras, you know, or any concepts that we hold about it, you know, the mind has this knowing, you know, from what we've read or we've heard from teachers or whatever, that these things happen, that things should unfold in a certain way. And my experience with energy is that we completely have to get ourselves out of the way. All of our knowing, the energy has its own intelligence, and it's going to do what it's going to do. So if we think it needs to do something, you know, it's like I'm trying to raise the energy to the crown chakra. You know, that little self that's trying to do something is actually interfering with the flow of energy. The energy is actually flowing into the little self, into the conditioned self, and it's actually stopping it. It's actually contracting it. So it is a paradox. Sometimes the energy will stop somewhere because we have a belief that it should be doing something. And then the moment we recognize that we have that belief and that we're shutting it down, then it does the thing that it's supposed to do. So it is a bit of a paradox. So really all we can see is, you know, how is the mind, how are my beliefs, you know, controlling in any way, you know, the meditation. And, you know, if the energy is just stopped at a certain spot, can I just be completely okay and equanimous with that? And if I drop all resistance to what is, then usually the energy will just flow then after that. So it is kind of a paradox. So For me, it always comes down to just being okay with what is in as much of a state of non-resistance as we can be, and just let the energy do its thing. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you. I think, yeah, I didn't want to accept that it's same thing as with the rest of the practice.
Mm-hmm.
Because this time that you mentioned just before the meditation now, you said, are you looking for anything that's not here already, something to that effect.
Mm-hmm.
And I found that so helpful in this meditation period, really helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, yeah, just letting go of even the feeling of waiting for something to happen or whatever, just being okay with that too.
Mm-hmm. Perfect. Yeah. That's perfect. Yeah, that's very well said. Yeah, the idea of waiting for something, because it's always the mind, looking for something in the future. Yeah, that's it.
Very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. I'll go to Rai. Hello. Are you, I think you need to, are you unmuted? What's going on? I don't. I'm not seeing any little microphone icon for you. I don't know if you have your microphone plugged in. We're not getting any sound there. Yeah, it's funny. Everyone else has like a little microphone thing icon on their picture, but yours is missing for some reason. So.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. Yep.
Okay. So I don't know what it is. I think sometimes I just have to click on the test microphone, but I was unmuted. But okay.
Okay.
All right. So I have a question, but before I do ask my question, I want to just kind of follow up on yesterday's question, because I just kind of wanted to solidify my understanding. And it was about the diet experience that I was having, because, the way I explained to you was, as soon as I can feel my presence when I'm silent. I can feel my awareness when I'm silent. But as soon as I start to speak, that's kind of when I start losing that sense of awareness. And when you explain to me that it's just kind of all one, one unit, the awareness and the self structure itself, the next time I had the diet, I actually was more confident in being able to say I am, as I spoke. But the more I thought about it, I was thinking, so it seems that when I'm silent, I can experience all my senses very well. I can be aware of my senses. I can be aware of my sight, of my sound. Everything can be amplified. But as soon as I start speaking, it seems like the fade starts to happen. And the way I was thinking about it is, and maybe you can just kind of expand on it a little bit, but it seems like as soon as I start speaking, the voice itself, because it comes from the breath, it feels like it's kind of like the soul speaking. So, in a sense, it's kind of like, the awareness, concentration, and attention that you were explaining yesterday in your teaching. The concentration can be, when you're concentrating on something, you can be, it can be attentive and aware about it. But once you start speaking, it kind of, the attention kind of just fades a little bit. It kind of dims. It's kind of like a continuum. It's kind of like an energy. So when you start speaking, you start using up your energy, and the energy of attention kind of it starts to dim from the awareness standpoint. Do you get what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I know. I get what you're saying. So I think there's a lot of analysis in what you're saying. A lot of conceptualizing, and I think like what we're going for in the dyads is incredibly simple. Incredibly simple and direct. So more like if you can imagine when when you were 4 years old, and somebody's really excited to know who you are, and they're like, tell me who you are, and there might be like an energy, an aliveness that comes through you, and any what comes through that childlike being. So there's not a need to conceptualize or make sense of all of these different components. It's much more direct than that. It's like an energy that comes through, and it's just you. It's just direct, not being mediated by a mind that has to figure out all these different components.
The mind that has to necessarily.
Oh, I think we lost your audio again there.
Yeah, someone had muted me, I think so. Okay, I think I understand. In a sense, you don't necessarily have to complicate it once you're activating your own body and voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
The sense I'm getting is that you're really trying to understand it and how it works, but that's using the analytical mind, and it really has to become a don't know mind in order for that direct experience to happen. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My question is about the samskaras. So I've had two different experiences this week. So in the beginning of the week, I had a very terrible experience of just kind of a traumatic memory that I kind of went through my mind, and it was uneasy, but I let it be, and I just kind of let it go. And I realized that once I did that, it kind of flew out of me, and I allowed it to kind of just dissipate. And when that thought it tried to come back again, it didn't have the same power over me that it used to. I feel that's kind of like the samskara just kind of releasing itself.
Mm-hmm.
Different experience I had was earlier today, actually in the morning, was the opposite experience, where I was extremely joyful because of just another memory, but it was a really great experience of where I kind of realized my full potential, my kind of calling in life, and I had tears down my eyes thinking about that experience again. And I just want to know the difference between those two, because in a sense, the samskara, you kind of just want to let it go and dissipate and kind of go away. But this beautiful experience that I had, is it something that I also need to kind of let it go and go away? Because I kind of want that to stay as opposed to let that go, So what are your thoughts on that?
Mm-hmm. So yeah, to me, the practice is to just let everything be as it is. So have a complete experience of both experiences, without resistance. Just allow both experiences to be fully lived and experienced. And but the key, or the inquiry part of it, is to inquire, who. Like the experience is happening within the realm of changing phenomena. So this experience is beautiful. This one is not so beautiful. There's this continuum of experience, and who is the knower of that continuum? Who is the one that is ever present? Aware of that continuum of changing phenomena, so that we want to directly experience that one in our dyads, in our meditation, in all of it. Yeah, because that one is the peace and fulfillment of that one is not contingent on any of that phenomena. When we recognize that one, then it doesn't matter what is presenting on that continuum.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess I have there's a thread question, as a follow-up question, because in a sense, that beautiful experience is kind of a part of you again, because I feel that that's kind of a calling in my life, and the samskara is kind of something I just kind of want to let go and dissipate. And so how do you start to construct that self in a sense, that is practical in real life when you go out in the world and allow the negative stuff to go away, the past to kind of fade away, and then the good stuff to kind of stay, so you can, continue on that path.
Yeah, we'll be talking more about integration, as we go further towards the end of the retreat. But in a general sense, I would just say that, the more we can abide as the true self, everything starts to rewire within the self structure. It's the beginning of an accelerated sort of development process for changing the way that we interface with the world. Beyond that, I don't want to get too much into that, because we're going to be talking a lot more about integration later on, and there's a lot more to say about that as well. And I think we are a little bit past time here, so yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you. So yeah, thanks everyone. So I think we'll have to wrap it up here, and we'll be coming back for yoga, I believe, at 2:00. Yes. So we'll see you then. Yeah. Thank you.